I recently solo traveled to China. I've also traveled to Japan several times, so I thought, why not compare my experiences in both countries? Because there is a huge difference despite being neighbors. To be clear, this video is strictly from a travel standpoint. So if you're here for other things like, this is not the channel. It's also based on my personal experience, so if you have a different one, please share it in the comments. Also, I will not be comparing which country is better for travel. In both countries, there were things I really loved and things I didn't appreciate, which I will talk about in this video. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's start with moolah. In Japan, you know that cash is king. Many businesses only accept cash, like indie restaurants, mom and pop shops, and also international cards don't always work. When I was grocery shopping in Tokyo, I think it's at Shimadaya, Japanese people were paying by card, and I was like, yay, let me use mine. After 3 failed attempts, I had to use cash. I don't know why this happens, but it's so frustrating. China is the complete opposite. Everywhere you go, whether it's a small restaurant, roadside market, street food, payment is completely cashless. Everything is done on your phone using Alipay or WeChat Pay. Not once did I use cash in China. The funny thing is, many places in China don't want cash because they don't have change to return you since everyone is paying using their phone. So in Japan, always have cash with you, and in China, link a credit card to Alipay so that you can buy things like drinking water. You need Alipay to survive in China. Period. Speaking of payments, you're gonna have more spending power in China compared to Japan. An iced latte from Luckin Coffee, which is the Chinese version of Starbucks, is only like 10 RMB. I had Luckin Coffee every single day. It was an obsession. I think my blood was Luckin Coffee. In Japan, you can only get prices like this at the convenience store or vending machines. Accommodation was the crazy part. When I was in Dalian, China, a whole room with a toilet and kitchen is only $13 a night. Even hostels in Japan are a bit more expensive than that. Transport is also very cheap in China, especially the taxis. When I was in Xiamen, I booked a taxi from the airport to my hotel. Guess how much it was? It was less than $3. And you can pay for all your journeys using Alipay, including the subways and buses. It's so convenient. Even though transport in Japan is more expensive, the experience is a lot nicer because everything is so well maintained and clean. I love their attention to detail, like their signage, punctuality, the melodies they play. The staff are so helpful. I can go on and on. Japan also has a culture of not disturbing other people, so it's usually very quiet and calm, except for peak hour, of course. China does have some of these elements, but they have a lot of people, so naturally the atmosphere is gonna feel more stressful. I took the second class bullet train because the tickets were cheap, but wow, it felt super claustrophobic. I'm definitely gonna do first class or business class next time. Honestly, I don't blame them because when you have more than 1 billion people, efficiency and passenger volume is more important and comfort is an added bonus. But on the bright side, traveling around China is so much cheaper. And despite the heavy crowds, I still find most people very polite and considerate. I feel like there are lots of stereotypes about China versus Japan, and I want to address 3 of them using my own travel experience. The first one is Japan is cleaner than China. That is true to some extent, but it's complicated. Japan is extremely clean, except for famous spots like Shibuya, Tokyo, or Namba, Osaka. I have been to these areas and oh my god, there is so much litter, especially at night. It's like an apocalypse. People are like walking around drunk and there's trash everywhere. But everywhere else in Japan is scary clean, especially the small cities and towns. I remember visiting Okayama and it was so clean and beautiful. It was like a dream, like there was not a single speck of trash on the floor. China is clean when it comes to litter. The subway stations are spotless and most of the streets have no trash. I was really impressed. However, the air wasn't very clean because there's a lot of smoking. I was really turned off by that. Before boarding the bullet train, people start smoking on the platform. In some restaurants, someone would be smoking even with the AC on. This happened to me twice. When I tell the staff, they will be like, "Oh, there's nothing we can do about it. We can move you to another table." So in general, China is visually clean, but the air quality needs improvement. Another stereotype is that Chinese people are more friendly than Japanese people. I think the reason why the Japanese are more distant is because they are more indirect and afraid of disturbing others. And the Chinese are more straightforward, so people just assume that it's easier to be friends with them. But I feel like they are way more complex than that. And along the way, I have met people that challenge this stereotype. For example, I was doing a day trip to Onomichi and I was at an orange farm squeezing orange juice. A Japanese couple next to me started chatting with me. I was like, what? I was not expecting that given the stereotype of Japanese people being reserved. I was using broken Japanese, they were using broken English, and we completely understood each other. In reality, there are both outgoing and reserved people in both countries. So it really depends on the individual. I think you also need to pay attention to people's intentions. Are people being nice to you because they want to make friends or they want something from you? The last stereotype is the most popular one. Japanese people are more polite than Chinese people. I want to bring more context to this. In China, most young people, especially Gen Z, are very polite. But the older people and some millennials, it's a hit and miss. Another observation I had was when people in China behave badly, they will be judged. An example was on my transit flight from Dalian to Quanzhou. The lady behind me was so loud and overbearing. She was even kicking my seat a bit. I was like, oh, why must this happen to me? Ugh. I was really annoyed by that. When I looked to my left, people were looking at her and giving side eye. Even the guy beside me was like... Thankfully, she wasn't like that throughout the flight. Oh god. Maybe the side-eyeing helped, I don't know. Even though behavior like that still exists in China, I'm just glad to see how many Chinese people do not support it. There is progress happening. On the flip side, the Japanese are being glazed as very polite and demure when something ugly is hiding beneath that. And I will never forget a horrible incident that happened to me in Osaka. I was at a huge electronics store looking for an AC adapter for my Sony camera, this camera, and I approached one of the staff members for help. Big mistake. So he found the AC adapter and I wanted to ask questions about the voltage rating and tax refund. Guess what he did? He just took it and brought it straight to the cashier without saying a word. I was so confused because there was zero communication. He didn't use a translator, so I just followed him because he has my AC adapter. And when he saw how confused I was, he pointed at the cashier and shouted at me so loudly, "Wait, here!" I was traumatized because that was the nastiest customer service experience in my life. And this happened in Japan? Also, many people were looking, which means I was publicly humiliated in front of everyone. And my biggest mistake was not standing up for myself because I was in shock. Eventually, I asked the cashier all my questions, paid for it, and left. This was the worst experience I had in Japan, and it showed me how fragile this overly positive image of Japan is, because the reality is that Japan is not perfect. Just like how China is not perfect, and after traveling to both countries, I can be certain that most of the stereotypes don't apply to everyone and everything. Both countries have things they do well in and things they can improve on. And that's why the question, which country is better for travel, doesn't make sense to me. Whether you visit China or Japan, there are going to be things you will love and things that will disappoint you. It's a package deal, and I highly recommend visiting both countries if you can. They are right next to each other. If you have any similar or differing experiences from mine, please share it in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.